There's almost no Republican out there right now fighting as hard as he or she can to stop this outrageous spending train. And the consequences are real. I mean, in the space of a year, we've gone from around 3% mortgage rates to 7% mortgage rates. It's an unheard of rapid acceleration. We have gone from around 1%, 2% inflation when Donald Trump left office, to all the way up to double-digit inflation, and people are happy now because inflation is in the sevens. 40-year high inflation. We finished yesterday's show reporting that the $1.7 trillion Omnibus Bill had passed the Senate. And I read you the list of the 18 turncoat Republican senators who ended up supporting this bill, which to me is frankly indefensible. Why do we even have an opposition party if the goal is to essentially turn into default Democrats and spend money like drunken sailors, which is exactly what happened. And now the House of Representatives is debating this bill as well. They probably are going to pass it in the near future, potentially while we are live on the air today. And as a Christmas gift to all of you, we are going to add trillions of dollars to your kids, your grandkids' future debt in this country. Remember when the Tea Party started to complain about massive, outrageous expenses in this country, the debt was $10 trillion, if I remember correctly, back in around 2010. Now we are sitting here 12 years later, and our national debt is poised to go over $32 trillion. So in the space of the last 12 years, we have added over $1 trillion a year to our national debt. Where does this all end? I do think that there is going to be a rational re-examination of many of the choices that are being made in this country. But if you are out there right now and you are doing your best to keep your head above water through this holiday season, to make your budget the best way that you can as a part of running your family, you could never spend money like our federal government spends money. You just couldn't do it. Credit cards would cut you off. We are drunk on spending money in this country. And we just keep getting drunker. And it's as if nobody can say, wait a minute, what's going on here? And you would think with the economic consequences that we are now dealing with, associated with that expenditure, that there would be some rationality setting in, but I just don't see it. There's almost no Republican out there right now fighting as hard as he or she can to stop this outrageous spending train. And the consequences are real. I mean, in the space of a year, we've gone from around 3% mortgage rates to 7% mortgage rates. It's an unheard of rapid acceleration. We have gone from around 1%, 2% inflation when Donald Trump left office, to all the way up to double-digit inflation, and people are happy now because inflation is in the sevens. 40-year high inflation. We got lots of people, and I wanted to be happy today, but I got to tell you, we got lots of people who just decided to leave the federal workforce when COVID happened in March of 2020 and have never returned. We got millions of young kids that are never going to finish school because they just walked right out and stopped going to school when their government let them down and allowed schools to shut down. I'm going to talk with Alex Berenson here in about 15 minutes. The overall death rate in this country has skyrocketed, and it's like nobody wants to talk about it. Nothing to do with COVID now. I'm not talking about COVID deaths, although they classify everything virtually as a COVID death. I'm talking about the fact that we are seeing tons of otherwise healthy young people suddenly dropping dead. And that there's now data out there to show that the COVID shot might be one of the reasons why. We've got very real, significant questions, and frankly, the people who are representing us, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, are mostly not up to the job. We don't have our best people in politics anymore. I think we used to have a better quality of representative. I think we've run a lot of them off with the politics of destruction, with the idea that if you did something 20 years ago, we're going to go and we're going to dig it up and we're going to drag it out and we're going to make you and your family suffer. And a lot of people who are really successful, they just say, screw it. Why would I do that? I can make millions of dollars in the private sector. That's why I got credit to Donald Trump. Guy could have just ridden out the rest of his life as basically a hero. Economics, no reason why he needed to put himself into the middle of the political arena. Most super rich people won't do it. That's why I give credit to Elon Musk, which I'm going to talk about a lot during the course of today's program, because I do find that to be the most optimistic thing that happened in all of 2022. But as I am talking to you, the House of Representatives is set to spend $1.7 trillion. You know, only half of your taxpayer-funded representatives are actually in Washington, D.C. for that vote, because Democrats have continued to extend the COVID emergency. A lot of representatives just don't bother traveling to Washington, D.C. anymore. They make their fat paychecks. They make their fat, all the different support, their health insurance, all the different benefits that they get funded by us, the taxpayer. They're going to spend $1.7 trillion, y'all. And only half of them are actually going to be willing to vote in person because the other half have already left to take off for vacation. Think about where we are. That only half of your elected representatives are willing to vote in person to spend $1.7 trillion of your money. I mean, that is just an absolute embarrassment. It's outrageous. Not even willing to be physically present in Washington, D.C. to cast a vote to spend $1.7 trillion of yours and my money. They aren't even willing to do their job. They're letting them vote remotely. They just pop in a Zoom, sit right there from their home, cash their taxpayer-funded checks, the sinecures that guarantee them that they're going to make millions of dollars for the rest of their lives. They decide to leave, they'll go be a lobbyist. They're set for life. And they aren't even willing to be present, half of them, in Washington, D.C. That's where we are. I don't want to just talk negatives. So to start off the show, I wanted to tell you what I think is the most positive thing that happened in 2022. Elon Musk buying Twitter. I think it is the single most important, long-lasting, impactful reason for optimism of anything that happened in 2022. I'm going to explain why. Over the course of this show, I'm going to try to convince you why I am super optimistic about what his purchase can mean for the larger media ecosystem in this country. But I would put Musk and Trump in this camp. One of the things that has most frustrated me as I made the move from sports into this arena has been the number of people who are extremely wealthy and successful in life, and they reach out and they say, I agree with everything that you say. They won't say it publicly because they're afraid that they might be a target. We have long since passed the time when standing on the sidelines and cheering quietly from people with the resources to make a difference in this country, it's just not acceptable anymore. And that's why I give credit to Donald Trump in a big way, and also why I give credit to Elon Musk. Because they are so wealthy, both of them. They never had to step into the fray and step into the arena and start taking the slings and arrows that immediately rain down upon you if you say anything other than this woke BS. They could have continued to cash checks. They could have lived really easy lives. Instead, they looked at what was going on in their country and they said, I can't stand this any longer. I'm stepping into the arena. Let me grab my sword. Let me grab my bows and arrows. Let me go right into this arena and start to stand up for what I believe in. And I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic, that Elon Musk is in the vanguard of a younger generation of billionaire in this country that have seen enough of this woke BS, that have seen enough of America being torn down to the point where universities like Stanford won't even allow the use of the word American because it's a pejorative. That's what they said as part of their speech control at one of America's most elite institutions. I'm very hopeful that what we're going to see going forward is more people with resources to fight deciding that they're finally going to get into the fight. I think Trump was important, but I think Elon Musk can truly be transformative. And I'm going to explain why over the course of this program. We've got a loaded show for you, by the way. Senator Bill Hagerty will join us at 1 o'clock Eastern to talk about the ridiculousness of the Senate action yesterday. 18 Republican turncoat senators that decided to spend $1.7 trillion of your dollars. How did that happen? Why did that happen? I mentioned in the open that I consider Elon Musk buying Twitter to be the most significant and positive outcome of 2022. The reason is because I don't think the average person realizes how embedded this woke mind virus really is in our culture today. And I mentioned this on the show before, but I think this is important for you guys out there to understand. Do you know there's not a single car company that advertises with this radio show? You know there's not a single restaurant that advertises with this radio show? You know there's not a single entertainment property, television, digital streaming, you name it, that advertises with this radio show. Do you know there's not a single major sporting event that advertises with this radio show? It's the biggest radio show in the country. All of you buy cars, eat in restaurants, watch movies and television, and watch sports to varying degrees. None of those industries will spend money here. Do you know why? Because the single wokest company, wokest industry, I should say, in the entire country is the advertising industry. And they have taken over so much of the media ecosystem that there is virtually no real marketplace of ideas anymore. And that has particularly been true in big tech, where everybody unanimously suspended Donald Trump simultaneously in the wake of January 6th. And I've said this for a long time, but I don't think enough people talked about this. Everybody did. Pinterest suspended Donald Trump. Etsy suspended Donald Trump. I don't even know really what those companies do, but I made fun of Pinterest and said Donald Trump couldn't sell scarves if he wanted to, like if he got into knitting. Evidently, that's Etsy. They suspended Donald Trump from being able to sell. If he had decided, hey, I'm retiring from politics, and now I'm going to just make Christmas scarves. I've really gotten into knitting. I want to be able to sell these. They suspended him from being able to do that. And what Elon Musk did when he spent $44 billion is he upset all of that big tech conspiracy, all of that big tech collusion, and he let us know for sure what was happening inside of all these big tech companies, because just like with Fox News, just like with the Wall Street Journal, just like with this show, suddenly having one person or one group speaking truth shows you how much lying there is going on. That's what Rush did in radio. And that's what Elon Musk is doing with big tech. And it's the single most encouraging thing that's going on right now in all of American life, in my opinion.